Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and this is going to be a video I already made back in the end of December, but I decided to kind of talk about better the films I saw in 2020 last year. Now, we all know 2020 was a bad year. It was the year of the pandemic, and probably the pandemic at its worst for me. So, yeah. Well, with that being said, let's just get on with this video. With the films that I saw in 2020 I liked, and the ones in 2020 I did not like, that we still got. So, what of course would be, now let's just get on with the first two, what are my two obvious favorite movies of 2020, are Soul and Sonic. Soul, I found the best movie of 2020 because it basically makes the viewer think of their life and stuff. It was this especially a perfect, another good Pixar masterpiece. It was also kind of like Inside Out at times, and plus Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey had great chemistry. Plus Jamie Foxx probably gave a wonderful voice acting performance as Joe Gardner, and I can't wait for that. I'm gonna get that on DVD when it comes out in a few weeks. So yeah, and second place is of course, Sonic. When I first saw the trailers, I thought it would look so bad because of his original design, but then Paramount and Jeff Fowler listened to the fans for once and changed his design, made him more faithful to his game self, and that was really amazing. And then they changed the release date to February 2020. And when I did see the film, it was actually very, very phenomenal. Very phenomenal as well. It was definitely before Soul came out. At the time, I almost thought this was going to end up being the best movie of 2020. But at least that wasn't the case. But all in all, for a video game movie, this was actually very phenomenal. It really paid off. It was greatly faithful to the childhood games I played, faithful to the whole game franchise, and especially faithful to the spirit of the character. Ben Schwartz really killed it as Sonic, and Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik was definitely the best thing of the movie, and of course the James Marsden as Tom. Tom was also very awesome. So, and I especially liked Sonic and Tom's chemistry they had in the film, and the comedy was very well timed, and yeah, every one of the characters was likable. So it's also a bonus. And third place would have to be Borat's subsequent movie film. This was actually a movie that was, believe it or not, guys, filmed in secret. I knew nothing about this film until around October 20 when Sacha Baron Cohen posted clips and video sets of him and Borat on set, filming scenes set during the COVID-19 pandemic when Borat has to go with those two guys on lockdown when he returns to America. But yeah, it was definitely very, for a released secretly sequel, released on Amazon Prime, it was actually very great. It was definitely probably one of the funniest movies, the funniest movie of 2020, definitely one of the funniest movies in a while, and Sacha Baron Cohen once again nailed it as Borat. And I actually love that he had a daughter in this one, and he was willing to give up his misogynistic ways for that, just to finally be able to raise his daughter he knew he never had. So very great. And I especially loved the scenes during the COVID-19 pandemic and stuff, and yeah. I mean, was it as good as the first one? Well, no, but I think it was still a masterpiece nonetheless. I'm glad Baron Cohen, I think he won the Golden Globe, which was very well deserved. So yeah, fourth place would be Tenet. Now, apparently a lot of people I know don't really like this film. They think it's too mute. They can hardly hear what the characters are saying, but I mean, yeah, I will admit that, but there were still some good performances, like from Denzel Washington's son. And of course, let's not forget Robert Pattinson actually had who's soon going to play Batman, was also very good. I mean, the film could have been a little less long. I kind of wish it wasn't the effects weren't so loud, but all in all, I think it was a good little time travel film. It was a good little reverse at times. I mean, you might have to watch it twice in order to understand it, but it's still once again another phenomenal film from director Christopher Nolan, who's one of my favorite directors of all time. And then fifth place would have to be a film that a lot of people don't know about called Possessor Uncut. So, I forget what the plot is about, but it was like this. It was the final film I saw in theaters before another lockdown happened. So I'm glad that happened. I was able to see it before that all happened, but it was like really bizarre. It was probably kind of like how we got an actually graphic horror film, sci-fi like horror film that was directed by David Cronenberg's son, Brandon Cronenberg. I mean, that was actually a good bonus. Like it was very perfect. It was very like slow paced. It was very like gory. It was very graphic. Graphic probably because it's called Possessor Uncut. So, but yeah, that movie I would give an 8.5 out of 10. I didn't review it, but yeah. In sixth place would have to be the first movie I saw in 2020, and that was Bad Boys for Life. Now, I really thought it would suck because it was going to be released in January, and we all know January films suck. But, however, when I saw the movie, it was apparently. I think I found it to be the best of the Bad Boys films. I mean, I love the first film and the second film as much, but I think I love this one the most. I mean, like once again, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence had very good chemistry, like they do in the other two films, and it was a very good character arc they had with them, thinking of going into retirement stuff since and then Mike and the detective Mike Laurie finally finding his son, and his son turned good in the end. So that was actually a very good bonus and stuff, and So yeah, then seventh place would have to be Onward. Now, sure, not one of Pixar's best, but I still thought it was just as emotional as many other Pixar films. I mean, especially with like dealing the loss of a parent, and I actually kind of liked how Pixar went the more fantasy like world for once. I mean, it was probably the final film I saw in the theaters during pre-pandemic, before the pandemic had officially begun, the weekend after this movie released, so it didn't really get to make much profit because the pandemic had already ruined its chances. So it was probably one of the first ones to get dumped straight to streaming. But I liked it for what it was. I mean, it's not one of Pixar's best, but it's still a fine movie nonetheless. And then eighth place, I'd have to put Greenland. Now, yeah, as much as I'm not a fan of disaster movies, I thought that was one of the few rare I actually liked. It was probably one of Gerald Butler's best roles in a while. I mean, I like Gerald Butler's guys. Definitely do. It actually is one of my favorite actors, so I actually decided to give this film a watch, and I actually thought it was very terrific. It was very horrific. It was very intense. It was actually more realistically portrayed for a disaster film, unlike films like 2012 stuff. So yeah, that's one of the few disaster movies I actually like. Right, and then ninth place would have to be Wonder Woman 1984, and I kind of re-rank it. Y'all know I gave it a 7, but now I somewhat ranked it to a 7.5, and kind of here's why. The more I thought of when I first saw the movie, I just thought it was okay, really, but it wasn't terrible, but very weak compared to the first. But then I gave it some thought, and seeing some other videos or reviews explaining it, I realized it wasn't as 7 out of 10 ish. So, I mean, it still wasn't like a masterpiece sequel. So, but now I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I mean, Gal Gadot still killed it as Wonder Woman and stuff. I loved the 1984 setting. It was very nostalgic, and I think I forget the actor's name, but the guy who plays Mando in The Mandalorian, Blaine Maxwell, Actually, I thought he gave a pretty good performance and stuff. I mean, the reason why I gave it a 7.5 was because Cheetah felt wasted, and I really wish Cheetah got more screen time and kind of not just made like one appearance, and that was just kind of a letdown. And then 10th place would have to be Freaky, that film starring Vince Vaughn. Now, I'm not a fan of disaster movie. Like, I'm not a big fan of Blumhouse, guys. I think they rely too much cheap on jump scares. Like, the only Blumhouse films I really like are Halloween, Get Out, and Splits. And, oh wait, Us is not a Blumhouse movie. Never mind, scrap that. Yeah, those are the three only Blumhouse movies I like. But, well, yeah, this was one of their more, this was actually one of their more tolerable films. I definitely loved Vince Vaughn's performance as during the comedy scenes when Vince Vaughn was having to play the teenage girl when they swapped the bodies and like his performance during that part I liked the most. I didn't really like his performance as the killer really. Killer really mostly he's not really horror movie material, especially that really horrible Psycho remake can prove that. But despite that, I mean, there were still some like decent kills and some like decent slasher like scenes. So unlike it was rated R, so that I've seen fine with though. So yeah, that's at 10th best. And now, let's get on with my least favorite movies of 2020 last year. First off, I just need a little break for a second, guys. Okay, I'm back. So, now to get on with my least favorite movies of 2020. In alphabetical order. So, I'm going to start with the most tolerable of my least favorite to the worst, most hated of my least favorite. So let's just begin with at 11th place on my list of all the movies I saw in 2020, Birds of Prey. Now, you guys know I ranked that movie a 7.5, but now, like Wonder Woman 1984, I thought of it more, and I kind of downgraded my score a little bit, so. Now, while I still loved Margot Robbie's performance as Harley Quinn, and it was still better than Suicide Squad, and I did like all the R-rated gore that was in the movie. I liked how they made Harley Quinn's movie R-rated because, whereas it was good to see an R-rated DCU movie, but the reason why is that the story fell way too thin, and Black Mask, loved Ewan McGregor's performance as Black Mask, but I did not like how they sent him off. How they sent him off was a horrible way to send off a villain. Like, I can agree, he had the stupidest death of the MCU. Just like having a grenade shoved up his rear and then just getting kicked off a dock and exploding is not a way to just abruptly send off your villain. That's just really lazy filmmaking, and yeah, that final battle felt way too quick, and plus, Black Mask hardly had much screen time to even be considered a main villain. So as decent as it is, it's still not really epic, and yeah, Birds of Prey is actually among my least favorite movies of 2020. Despite the 7 out of 10 I gave it. And then 12th place would have to be Unhinged. Now, I actually saw this movie in the theaters around the summer, and there were some good things and some bad things I thought about it. Good stuff, and I kind of liked how really terrifying it was, how really disturbing they made it, and it probably felt, much like My Sister Uncut, it was probably one of the most disturbing movies in a very long time. Very long time, with all the realistic portrayals of road rage and really mentally unstable people that'll get rich easy, and plus Russell Crowe gave a very terrific and terrifying performance as the furious road rage guy, and Now, the bad stuff I did not like. I did not like the two main characters, especially the female lead. She felt like way too much of a Karen, really. Really, so she kind of brought it on her own self, and I didn't really like the son she had either. So yeah, that's kind of why I'm more mixed on it. That's kind of why I didn't really review it. But I think it's 6 out of 10ish. And it's really, I mean, it's not like terrible per se, but I'm just more mixed on that one. So, but yeah. But yeah, 6 out of 10. Very realistic. There's both good things, terrifying portrayals, and definitely a terrifying villain. Bad parts, not very likable main characters, and kind of just your average road chase movie, really. Oh, and then 13th place is Scoop. Yeah, I do not like Scoop, guys. I mean, then again, I don't like, actually really do not like these Hanna-Barbera movies they make, and movies they make at all, really. None of the films that get made are even good. I mean, especially like this one. I mean, still, while this one is still better than Tom and Jerry, I'll give it that. Like, this one was not even like the cartoon at all. I mean, I like that it was fully animated, but it was hardly even like Scooby-Doo at all. I mean, I'm kind of just not really a big fan of Scooby-Doo, really. And plus the voice cast for this film hardly even sounded like they cared at all. Just by listening to her lines, they didn't even sound like they were excited to even be a part of this film. And I definitely did not like how they did not bring back Matthew Lillard for Shaggy, and like they really should have brought him back. Like he's probably my favorite Shaggy, really, because and plus it was definitely the best part of the live action cast, which even the live action movies I like way better than this one. So yeah, I did not really like Scoop. And on 14th place. Now, I bet some of you are wondering if I was going to review this movie, but in all fairness, guys, I actually hated Antebellum. Yeah, I didn't really like it. It felt too violent. It kind of felt way too cliched. It felt way too brutal. Felt too violent at times, and plus, there were hardly really any smart characters. A lot of the characters were really stupid in that movie, and it just kind of felt like just an African American version of Saw, really. Really, particularly with the protagonist. It was kind of just felt like too much like Saw at times, and it's kind of like with those films, except now, I will agree, Janelle Monáe's performance was definitely the best part of the movie, but it just felt way too generic and cliched, and yeah, did not like Antebellum. That's why I did not buy it. Oh yeah, and then next place would have to be New Mutants. You know, like that was the last nail in the coffin to the Fox X-Men. I mean, they're nailed in the coffin anyway because like Disney owns Fox now. So, but now while I did like the different direction it did kind of go, I definitely did not like the whole SJW. There was like too many SJW stuff thrown in it for no reason, and it hardly even felt like an X-Men movie at all. And plus, after being delayed way too many times, they really should have just stopped the movie there. Because there was just kind of no reason to make it anymore. That's right, people just didn't. I think they only just released it because they knew people didn't care anymore, so that's just kind of why they threw it into the reopened theaters, because they knew it just wasn't worth delaying anymore. But it was better than Dark Phoenix, I will admit that, but yeah, I did not like it. Uh, and then next after New Mutants, I have to be Doolittle. Ugh. I hate Doolittle, guys. Like, seriously, how could... I get Robert Downey Jr. wants to make this film for his kids, but how could he go from Iron Man, aka the MCU, to this? Especially to getting farted on by a dragon near the very end of the movie. Ugh. Especially the talking animal casting. The talking animals even further ruined the film, and yeah. Oh yeah, and yeah, I hate The Grudge 4, guys. That's definitely among the most hated movies of 2020. Hate Trolls World Tour 2. That's no offense. And again, I don't really like the Trolls films, so didn't like this film either. It basically just, and plus, it only really caused Universal's problems with AMC. See, which only worsened it for me. And then, of course, oh, you're probably all gonna be wondering about this one, about the Mulan remake. That is my number one most hated movie of 2020. And then you're probably gonna be like, what, movie lover 20? Why do you gotta be so hard on the Mulan remake so much? Oh, really? You all wanna know? Alright. I'll tell you all why. Since you all probably want to know why I consider it the number one worst movie of 2020. For starters, it's a cash grab. It has nothing to do with the original. 2, it has nothing to do with the original film. 3, Mulan in this version is basically portrayed as another Rey from Star Wars. In fourth place, Mushu is now replaced with this bird of some sort, and which is not even the original animated movie at all. And fifth, she's played by this corrupt woman who supports Hong Kong brutality. Basically, she likes Hong Kong violence. Yeah, that's why. This film was just a slap in the face to my childhood, especially to an utter disgrace to the animated movie, which is 10 times better than this. I love the animated one, guys. Mulan was portrayed perfectly in that version. It should be not this Mary Sue she is in the live action one. And yeah, it basically destroyed any hope I have for live action remakes after this, so yeah. Yeah, Mulan was the number one worst movie of 2020 for me. But, alright. There you have it. There are my best films of 2020 and my worst films of 2020. And all in all, that'll be it for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this and want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Movie Lover 120.